Today's video lesson is going to be creating Object 5 from Plate 5.32 using SketchUp for Schools. Alright, well, first thing we do, like always, we're going to take a look at this model here and decide basically how to approach it. In this case here, I think I'm going to go for more of a subtraction model here, where I'm going to create a rectangular prism and then subtract parts that I don't want. So in order to do that, I need to know the total length of the object there. I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 halves, and it's 3 halves deep, so that's be 3.5 by 1.5. And then the total height would be 1 inch there and 3/4 there, total height of 1 3/4. Alright, so zooming in here, I'm going to pick up a rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to go ahead and input the dimensions there, 3.5 comma 1.5, and enter. I'm going to zoom in a tick more. I'm going to delete that person, and I'm going to use push-pull here to pull this upwards 1.75 inches. Okay, so there's the shape in question there. Now we're going to start subtracting bits and pieces of it away. Now the way I do that here, I'm going to start over here on this side, on the left hand side, and I can see that this is a 1/2 inch thick here and it's 1 inch deep. So what I'm going to do is set up some guidelines. So tape measure tool, 1/2 inch thick and then 1 inch deep. And I'm going to sketch a rectangle in this position. Rotate around, and then I'm going to use push-pull to subtract this part away. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and use the erase tool, get rid of those. Now we're going to work on the right hand side. So taking a look at the right hand side, I see first of all the thickness of the base pad there is set at 1 to 3/4 of an inch. So that's as good a spot to start as any. So SketchUp for Schools, tape measure tool, 0.75 inches. And now we need to know the thickness of the neck of the Z. This kind of reminds me of a Z shape, so we'll go back and take a look at that. Okay, the neck of the Z is right here. We got 1 to 3/4 of an inch. So flipping back to SketchUp for Schools, 3/4 of an inch. And now I'm going to take another rectangle and I'm going to place it there and subtract it using push-pull. Alright, so let's clean up that guideline while we're here. Clean up this guideline. Alright, so there's the basic shape of it. Now, there's a little rectangular portion right there, so let's find out more about it. Well, I see it's 3/4 of an inch wide, and it's not really clear what this distance is, but I just kind of compared these two, and I said, yeah, that's 3/4. So, going back to SketchUp for Schools, I'm just going to go ahead and get set up with a single line, and I'm going to divide this right where the midpoint is. And now I can push-pull this face here out 0.75 inches. Okay, well, nearly done here. We've got a hole up here in this part, and we got a channel in the bottom. So let's take a look at that. So the hole here is pretty straightforward. It's centered from front to back, and a 1/2 inch back from the left edge. So I'm going to take a tape measure, I'm going to use my midpoint snap here, and I'm going to drag a guideline from left to right exactly at a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and place a circle in there. Now the circle's underneath the rectangle, and we're going to go ahead and give it a 0.25 inch radius. Alright, now we're going to use push-pull, and we're going to subtract this using the on-edge inference. So I'm going to delete those guidelines, and now the channel is going to be underneath here. And so let's take a look at the particulars. I see that it's centered from front to back, and that it's a 1/2 inch wide. So let's set up some guidelines for this. Alright, so I guess the first guideline I'm going to make would be a center line. So I'm just going to go like this to center, and then I'm going to put this out 0.25 this way and 0.25 to the left for a total of a 1/2 inch. And now once again I'm going to reach for my rectangle tool, and I'm simply going to draw a rectangle on the underneath side of this, and then I'm going to push-pull it upward 0.25 inches. Alright, so there we go.